Hello and willkommen. My name is James Hodkinson and I teach German Studies here at Warwick. You can see some of my colleagues in German on the slide. In total, there are 13 of us, both full-time and part-time teachers, including a number of native speakers, and all of us highly experienced and internationally recognised experts in our fields of research. We're part of a warm, inclusive community, and we offer a vibrant and engaging German curriculum in which developing your competency in the German language and your knowledge of German culture are complementary, effectively two sides of the same coin. This short film is going to give you a flavour of the cultural side of a German degree at Warwick. So what is culture as we understand it, and how do we teach it? Of course, our language teaching incorporates elements of culture as vital source material, but we also offer a bespoke cultural curriculum. In it, we cover a range of periods that's rare at UK universities. It reaches from the 21st century back to the roots of modern German in the 18th century. So before, during and after the story of German nation. We explore how the Germany of today has been transformed by migration and by globalisation and become a multicultural or culturally plural place. We also offer an interdisciplinary curriculum covering different cultural forms or media, including contemporary culture, politics, history, film, literature, and also topics such as language learning. And we also contribute to cross-school modules delivered with other language sections on themes such as politics, propaganda, and translation and transcultural studies. So our definition of what culture is incredibly broad. How much culture you do depends on how big a focus you place on German within your degree. We start with broader overviews of culture in its different forms, media and periods, and we introduce you to key analytical skills that you'll need to comment on culture. As you move beyond the first year, you get ever more choice and greater flexibility, so you can follow your interests and your abilities. A couple of examples from our first year cultural curriculum. The Changing Face of Germany in Film and Text offers an overview of the cultural, intellectual and political history of Germany from 1945 to the present. Students focus on a number of central themes. These include denazification and the legacy of World War II, West Germany, the GDR and the Cold War, so the story of the divided Germanys in the 20th century, gender and culture in East and West, terrorism, political violence in the 1970s, responses to German reunification from 1990 onwards, and migrant cultures and Islam in Germany. You can see here from this image, which is taken from a film called Angst essen Seele auf, how we might use a visual image to look at the relationship between different ethnic groups in multicultural Germany, here focused on a relationship between a North African immigrant and a white German woman. The other first year module we offer is quite different. Power and Passion, the makings of modern German culture, focuses on the origins of modern Germany at the end of the 18th century. We use a smaller number of texts and sources from the period to ask questions such as, in a century in which Germany didn't even exist as a nation, what role did the arts play in forging a national culture? What makes a nation at all? Is it language, heritage, ethnicity, skin colour? How did German writers and thinkers see these problems? How did Germany deal with the social issues that were thrown up by the French Revolution of 1789, including the breakdown of a class system, the changing of gender roles? Whilst these might seem like historical questions from the 18th century, they actually go to the heart of issues that are still very much with us today. In both modules, we show you how to analyse different cultural forms, how to conduct research, how to present your findings in writing. Ab initio students will access sources in English translation until their language skills catch up. In the second year and the fourth year, there are a number of one-term specialist options. We offer modules such as film in the Weimar Republic and under National Socialism, Franz Kafka's short stories, violent women in the cultural imagination of Germany, Bertolt Brecht, theatre as revolution. To look at two examples, film in the Weimar Republic looks at the fall of democracy and the rise of Nazism through the lens of early German cinema, whilst Violent Women looks at issues of political protest and gender in 20th century Germany, focusing on figures such as Ulrike Meinhof. In both cases, again, we help you to understand how to deepen your understanding of the context of these sources and equip you with the means to analyse them. At Warwick, we offer an optional 8 to 9 month period abroad, usually taken in year 3, and you can of course split the year between different countries. In addition to deepening your linguistic competence and your cultural knowledge, and also following our reflective year abroad work plan, you can opt to study at a German or an Austrian university, accessing a range of subject areas, including cultural topics that might enhance your learning back at Warwick, or might represent something quite different and new to you. However you spend your year abroad, you'll be able to engage in research, reading, and preparation for final year modules. Returning to us in the final year, we have a fascinating range of focus modules that allow you to follow your specialised interests. These include gender trouble, exploring zeitgeist, politics, culture and society in Germany today, terrorism in Germany and cultural memory, German memories of World War II from perpetration to suffering, identity, gender and ethnicity in German culture around 1800, the Holocaust, history and interpretation, and the dissertation module. To look at a couple of examples, Exploring Zeitgeist is our new flagship module. It's taught in German and it examines contemporary German politics, society and current affairs. If you don't find your interests met there, you can opt to write a dissertation. That's a research project on a topic of your own choice, supervised one-on-one by a specialist in that area from our staff. Let me give you a sample of a teaching point from a cultural module that I'm launching on German popular music. The module starts in the ruins just after World War II, where Germany is physically, economically and culturally shattered. See the Trümmerlandschaft or Sea of Rubble here on the left. But by the 1950s, as the image on the right shows, a rebuilt Germany was experiencing an economic boom, the Wirtschaftswunder, which is shown there. Young people had time, money, and demanded their own new culture. There was a demand both for imported music from the UK and the US, but also for a homegrown German pop music. But what would that look like or sound like? One key issue was that in the wake of Nazism and its glorification of German culture, many young people felt uncomfortable singing in their own language, the German language. Pop music tended to split into different directions. Copies of pop music from the English-speaking world, sung in English, or more radical experimental groups who played so-called Krautrock, wordless instrumental music. Although there were artists who also performed Schlager or hits, which were saccharine versions of foreign pop tunes with German lyrics overdubbed, it seemed most serious bands were trying to avoid singing in their own language, the German language, and you can see an example of Schlager there. The main exception to this were Kraftwerk. They were pioneers of a new kind of electronic music that came from Germany and sounded like nothing else. In addition to this, they sang in German. In fact, they performed their own Germanness on stage and even in interviews, speaking in a heavenly accented way and being exaggeratedly German. In many ways, they were being ironic. Their mission seemed to be to stimulate critical thinking about what Germanness was and to deliver a kind of German pop music that was German but avoided charges of being nationalistic. And they were trying in some way to rescue a sense of German culture from the legacy of the Nazis. Now, one approach we might take to Kraftwerk is to read them in visual terms. Take a look at this record sleeve from the album Autobahn. It shows an iconic VW Beetle driving down one of Germany's motorways towards a bright, sunny future. All symbols of German success, but symbols that had been hijacked by the Nazis, claimed to be achievements of their own. Here, though, the black Mercedes, the staff car of high-ranking Nazi officials, travels in the opposite direction, contrary to modern German values, and consigned to the past. So modern German culture was not, for Kraftwerk, going to be dominated by the Nazis. Of course, in lessons, we'd listen to their music first and foremost. If you want any sense of their achievements of a band, try listening to their music on YouTube. Try imagining techno music or dance music without that. You could even listen to tracks like this, Close to the Edge by early hip-hop artist Grandmaster Flash, to hear how Kraftwerk's sound had travelled across the Atlantic to influence black American artists, arguably part of the transnational legacy of German popular culture. Hopefully some of this has given you an insight into the kind of things we would do in a module like mine. We could equally be asking these same questions of a novel, a film, or a piece of political writing. By the end of your degree, our cultural programme will have trained you to do a number of key things, give you a number of key skills. You'll be able to analyse sources within their own linguistic, cultural and global contexts, comment on how they function, how words, images and sound work in these sources. You'll be able to think critically, use conceptual thinking and deal with difficult topics in a nuanced way, communicating your findings appropriately. You'll be able to build and apply a bank of sophisticated cultural knowledge. Having been trained in culture gives you the intercultural knowledge base and analytical skills that give you that leading edge in a global, multilingual job market. And it's with that edge that our students leave us to great success in the world of work. The Guardian found that Warwick linguists were third best placed when it came to job prospects, when it came to being in a sustainable career 15 months after graduating. And when they do graduate, they end up working in a wide range of environments in the corporate world, for NGOs and charities, in education, local and central government, in marketing, PR and the law. Here are just a few of the employers who took graduates from us in recent times. I hope that that's helped you to understand what's special about German studies at Warwick and about the particular value of the cultural components to our degree. We look forward to meeting you at open days, online and in person, and please feel free to sign up for some of our student live chat events to hear about this directly from our students.